Hello and welcome back to Pride of All Europe TV. Earlier this week we asked you which of the United centre-halves, the current crop of centre-halves, should we be selling in January or the summer, and who should we be bringing into the club. The question was really brought on by what happened at the weekend when we went down to City. Smalling got sent off for a couple of rash bookings. It was very strange because the week before he was absolutely outstanding against Chelsea, but after what happened there, and then Rojo going off injured, so McNair and Carrick filled in at centre half, it really did trigger the question that is our current crop of centre halves good enough? So looking at the emergence of Tyler Blackett and Paddy McNair this season, we've discussed it between ourselves, and we've asked you guys, are Blackett and McNair already as good and as valuable to us as Evans, Smalling and Jones? This is what we wanted to know from you guys. So yesterday, as I say, we asked, and we've had some good responses back. So I'm going to start with Martin, who is at King Firm. He says if everyone's fit, Smalling's the one who's got to go because his distribution's not good enough. Now, cheers for your reply, Martin. The thing with that is, I think Smalling, I don't think he's bad on the ball, if I'm honest. He plays at right back as well as centre back, and I think to play in the full-back position, you've got to be pretty tidy on the ball because you get forward as well. It's not just you pick it up at centre half and give it to your midfielder. You've got to get up and down the flank. So I'm not sure I agree with that. Smalling, I've got to say, Smalling was the more chosen option of Smalling, Jones and Evans, and that's probably knee-jerk reactions from a lot of you guys after what happened Sunday. But moving on to one of the better named people, Deaf to Banterers, who's at Worrying My Sheep. He says Smalling's got to go and to give Phil Jones one more season to see if he can stay fit. With this Jones and his fitness, I can't work out what it is. I don't know if he's just a headless chicken and doesn't think about what he's doing. I don't know if it's going to be permanent throughout his career, that he'll always be injured. But I don't really favour Jones over Smalling. I think Smalling's the better player, and I think he's got the more of a long-term future at United. So cheers for your reply. Cheers for your reply there. I just don't know if Jones is worth giving one more season. How many seasons has he had to prove his fitness? I've had a reply from Paul, who's at P Dudson. He says get rid of Smalling and Evans. Jones is better than both put together. It could be a case of the best of. He's the best of a bad bunch. None of Jones, Smalling, Evans, none of them are standing out. There was so much hype when Jones was brought to the club. There was so much hype around him. Ferguson saying he could be the next Duncan Edwards. He's going to be the next England captain. He had a couple of good games for Blackburn, and one of them was against us, and the other one was against Chelsea. Mark Dropper out of the game, so he did look great. But he didn't come into United. He was never going to get in ahead of Ferdinand and Vidic. He had to make do with playing defensive midfield, right back. But it is. With Jones, it is all about his injury problems. He's always on the treatment table. If we gave him 20, if he stayed fit for 20 games, I might change my opinion. A lot of you guys might change your opinion as well. PJ Stan replied, who's at PJ Stan 70. Jones, Smalling, Evans can all go. They're inconsistent and injury prone. Hashtag Varane and Hummels. I don't know if you're dreaming there or if that's realistic. With regards to them two signings, but they're already at big clubs, but they would be the calibre of defender we should be looking at bringing in. I actually thought Hummels would join in the summer. He's giving Dortmund one more year, I guess. We'll come back to that shortly. Tom Andrews replied saying we shouldn't get rid of any of our centre halves until we buy somebody. So buy somebody before you sell. It is a sensible way to do things, but that's not. It's not always the United way, is it? And he goes on to say that Evans never cemented his place in the side, and he's had long enough, which again is true. Johnny Evans has actually been on the scene for a very long time, and again you've got to hold your hands up and you've got to say that it's hard to get in ahead of Rio and Vidic when they were world class. But Evans should have been the next man in line, and with no Vidic and no Rio, he hasn't. He's been injured and that, but look at that Milton Keynes Dons game away. He was absolutely awful. He was getting torn apart. So it could have been the system, it could have been the pressure of a new manager, I don't know, but I've never been Evans' biggest fan anyway. Lord Lucan has replied, that's at Patrick Rowe 353, and he's like, Jones is the worst player in the last 30 years to play for United. He's a brainless danger to himself, and to keep Smalling for right back cover. Now, I'm finding it hard to disagree with you there, Lord Lucan. Smalling is good cover at right back, and he is good cover at centre back. If you take away that City performance last week, he's not a bad player at all. I've always thought he was, pretty decent. Will he ever go on to make, to be a first choice centre half? I doubt it, but he's worth keeping around for his versatility. Jones being the worst player in the last 30 years, I don't quite agree with that. I've seen some right cases pass through, so they're all coming flooding back to me now. So yeah, I don't think he's that bad, but I do admire your passion. And last but not least, we've had a reply from Robin, who is at Rise of One. Johnny effing Evans, I hate him. Well, I think that speaks for a lot of us when you say that. So, looking at who we could bring to the club, you've got your obvious players like we just touched on. Mats Hummels is Dortmund aren't doing great domestically this season. You've got to think it's his last year playing for them, because a lot of big clubs have been sniffing around him, including ourselves and Chelsea. He would be my main man to go for. I think he's a really, really good centre half. He lacks a bit of pace, but then again, if you've got a couple of yards in your head, that you don't necessarily need that. But he would be the man I would break the bank to bring in. Rafael Varane's apparently available. He's only been at Madrid a couple of seasons. Not really sure why we missed out on him the first time after all the hype of being linked with him. Gerard Piqué, another player who's been linked with United coming back. He knows the club. He knows what we're about. We know what he's about. I've never really been completely sold on him, but he's won everything. So who am I to judge? Obviously, the first time around, he went banging on Ferguson's door, asking why he wasn't getting in the side, and that's why he got sold. So, with that in mind, you've got to think Ferguson chose to keep Johnny Evans over Gerard Piqué the first time around. Not one of his greatest managerial decisions, I've got to say. I'm going to throw in a wild card, and he really is a wild card, because at 32 years old, I've always been an admirer of him. It's Newcastle's Colaccini. I've always thought he's a really, really good centre half. He's very good in the air, considering he's not that tall. He's great on the deck, and he doesn't shirk a challenge. He goes in hard, and he's a leader. I thought he could have fitted into our defence perfectly over the last couple of seasons. I'm probably going to take massive pelters for that one as well, because obviously Newcastle ain't a title-winning side. They're not a glamorous side, but I think he's a really good player. And I'm going to chuck him one to avoid as well, and that's Ryan Shawcross. I don't think he'd be as much more than a rugby player, and I think he's rubbish. So yeah. Cheers for your replies on that. Give me a shout on Twitter. It's at Nathon W. That's NATHONW. We'll have a chat about all your comments about my views, and fingers crossed we can get this defence sorted. Alright, cheers. See ya.